we catch that? Hachnasas orchim, it means inviting guests. Hachnasas orchim, it's friendship at its best. This is famously Uncle Moishy. It's his third album. Anybody who has driven carpool for young children knows this song well. And what could be more obvious? Hachnasas orchim means inviting guests. Okay, we are on Parshas Vayeira and Vayeira. And we've had the episode of the three apparent men, actually malachim, angels who come. And the scene is on the third day after Avraham has his bris milah. And each malach, we are taught that a malach, an angel, has one and only one mission. Perhaps the epitome of single-mindedness and focus. So there are three men, one of them to effect a refuah, healing, recovery for Avraham Avinu, for Abraham. One of them to give the news to Avraham and Sarah that Sarah would be having a child within a year. And the third to upend Sodom. So the first two perform their mission while they are with Avraham. So the Torah reflects the closing of their appearance, and in Perek Yudches Pasuk Tezayin, that's 18:16. Pasuk says, "Vayakumu mishama anashim." The men got up from there, v'ashkifu al pnei Sodom, and they looked out over the face of Sodom. Va'Avraham holech imam l'shalchan, and Avraham went with them to send them off. Now, l'shalchan could be problematic because we know, for example, that when that same term implies something kind of aggressive. Vayhi b'shalach Paro es ha'am, and it was when Paro sent out the people. He didn't just send them out; he pushed them out. So what's going on here? Is Avraham pushing out these people who came to visit? So Rashi says, l'shacham l'lavosam, to accompany them, to escort them. Kasavur orchim heim. He thought that they were orchim. What were orchim? Well, we just heard Uncle Moishy. He said, hachnasas orchim. It means inviting guests. So we know that. Orchim are guests, right? Wait a second. What's Rashi telling us? He thought they were guests, and therefore he's escorting them? This whole episode was about there being guests. This whole episode taught us mounds of derech eretz, of the way a person should act towards people who come to visit. Right? Vel habakar ratz Avraham. Avraham runs to the cattle, and he tells, and he gets tongues for his guests, and he tells Sarah, Mahari Lushi Vasiugos, hurry up, get kemach and knead it and make cakes, and he gives them something to wash their feet, and he gives them to drink. And he didn't think there were guests before this. Only when he's walking out with them, he's escorting them. Rashi says, "Kasavur or orchim heim." He thinks they're guests. So this question is, so Rashi is addressing apparently a difficulty in the word l'shalcham, which can imply an aggressive pushing out, chasing away of somebody from your sphere, like with Parero, like chasing away a bird from a nest. So Rashi is defeating that that interpretation by saying lelavosam, to accompany them. What is Rashi adding by saying kasavur orchim heim? He thought that they were guests. So some of the Meforshei Rashi explain that you might have thought that after one of these men tells Avraham, in a year from now, you're going to have a child. Your aged wife is going to have a child. That he might have drawn the conclusion that these were not only not ordinary men, they weren't men at all, and that they were malachim. So according to these Meforshei Rashi, these commentaries on Rashi, what Rashi is saying is, well, he's escorting them because he knows that he still thinks that they are guests, that they are humans. But you might look at the word oreach. Oreach might not mean what Uncle Moishy thinks it means. Oreach might not mean a guest. And if you look at the usage of the term, and we're just going to use one from the 9th chapter of Yirmiyahu. 9th chapter of Yirmiyahu, the very first pasuk, says, Mi itneni bamidbor melon orchim ve'ezvos ami ve'elcham eitam. Oh, that I were in the wilderness, in a lodging place of, now we're talking about malon. Malon, we in modern Hebrew call it a hotel, but malon means a place to sleep. Of orchim. What's orchim? Orchim are wayfarers, people who walk on a path, on a road. Lorutz orach. They run across a path. Orach smachos, the path of rejoicing. Orchos tzadikim, the paths of the righteous, etc. So, orachaim, the path of life. So, an orach is a path or a road. An oreach is somebody who is roading or pathing, or a wayfarer. He is wayfaring. Rashi is not saying that they are guests. What he's saying is he thinks they're going on a trip. Well, if somebody's going on a trip, we have a halachic obligation to escort them. There are various reasons: to see to their safety, to their comfort, to make them feel more secure, they're not alone, etc. There are varying obligations depending on the relationship between the person who is leaving and the person who is being departed from, whether it's a teacher or a student or a parent, etc. There may be an obligation to go a fair distance to escort the wayfarer, the person going on a journey. Kasavur orchim heim. He thought that they were leaving on a journey. And that's why he was sholeach them. That's why he, as the pasuk says, Avraham holech imam l'shalcham. He's walking with them to send them off. Now, lest you think this is mere speculation, there is a halacha about using containers in a storage room on Shabbos that contain some types of food, but normally you would be prohibited from accessing large storage containers because to access them, you have to move them. There's a lot of schlepping involved. It could be that it's prohibited because of tirchi yisera, because of an extraordinary amount of effort that is really prohibited on Shabbos, or that it's uvdin dechol. It's not something that we typically do on Shabbos, so you're generally not supposed to do it. But there is an exception. This is in Siman Shin Lamed Gimel 333, and the Shulchan Aruch says that this type of storage container, either for grain or other produce or for wine, you're not allowed to start moving them around, but you can for a devar mitzvah, for a mitzvah, a purpose of a mitzvah. Kagon shepinohu hachnasas orchim. For example, he is moving it around for hachnasas orchim. What's hachnasas orchim? Well, opinion number one, which we are taking issue with, is that of the conventional wisdom, Uncle Moishy and others, which is that it means inviting guests. I suggest that it means wayfarers, people who don't otherwise have a place to eat. And we see, I'm going to skip a lot of the halachos here, but we're going to see that the Ramah, Moshe Isserlis, who adds his glosses here, says, V'lo mikri orchim, ela shenisarchu etzlo beveso, ozimein orchim shenisarchu etzlo acherim. They're only considered orchim, we're now translating as wayfarers, if they are staying, lodging with him, or he has others, he invites them when they are lodging with somebody else. Avol, kishazimein chaveiro lisodetzlo lo mikri orchim. When he invites his friend to eat a meal with him, it's not considered orchim. Now, he is a guest. If you have a friend who comes over, he is a guest. He may feel like he's part of the family if he comes over a lot. But as far as the definition is concerned, if you have somebody over who doesn't live in your house, he's a guest. And the Ramah is saying that he's not considered. We're not talking about guests or not guests. We're talking about whether this person is an oreach. He's somebody who needs accommodation because he's a wayfarer. And from this parsha, we learn many halachos. Among them is that Avraham interrupts his dialogue with the Almighty to take care of these wayfarers, and also that we go out of our way to accompany, to escort wayfarers so that they can have a good send-off, a better trip, a more secure trip, provisions, etc. Have a good Shabbos. Oh, let me end. Let me see if I can end with the same... Here we go. Have a good Shabbos.